So when it comes to all this, Nintendo gave us a basis for our theory crafting heaven. The teaser trailer for Breath of the Wild 2 shows us just enough to provide us with a concrete look at the direction in which the Zelda team is taking this new game, while at the same time showing us so little that the speculation regarding this title is so incredibly open. In most basic terms, all we know is there is a cave, Zelda and Link are exploring it, a corpse with a hand on it lies at the bottom, and somehow that corpse is going to wake up. From there, we've fervently been crafting theories, looking into details, and trying to create our own overall image of this game. Some of these ideas, in my opinion, are big winners, while others are, not exactly. So we are going to take a look at 5 theories I support and 5 I disagree with for Breath of the Wild 2. As a quick rule of thumb before we jump into all of this, I'm strictly stating my opinion on these theories. I could be wrong, I could be right, it's all still speculation. Also, for each topic today, I tried to pick out theories I have not already discussed in depth on the channel yet, as to, keep it fresh. So, let's get started. Truth number 1. Hyrule Castle is a divine beast. Hyrule Castle is a landmark location to the Zelda series and a centerpiece of Hyrule in Breath of the Wild. And while players are granted the ability to explore the castle in Breath of the Wild, we don't get to see all of it. Not only is the castle not fully explorable due to Malice blocking off several areas, but the castle also shows us some signs of it holding more than what currently meets the eye. The pillars rising from below the castle full of guardians, the observatory of the final fight. There is more to this hidden technology below Hyrule Castle. And then, Breath of the Wild 2's teaser trailer appeared. At the end of this trailer, the landscape of Hyrule seems to be greatly shaken, with the epicenter of this quake being Hyrule Castle. A scene that appears to line up almost too well with this piece of Breath of the Wild concept art. This piece of concept art, might I add, also hasn't been seen since March 1st, 2017, meaning it was not included in the retail release of Masterworks or Creating a Champion. And finally, if you look closely, and by no means can this be seen clearly due to the dust and video compression, but you can almost make out what seems to be some kind of leg. I do believe that Hyrule Castle is hiding the divine beast below its structures, and that this will be the means by which the castle finds itself skyward. False number 1. Ganon is good. A very popular theory that's been making the rounds across the internet is one that I'm going to call the good guy Ganon theory, which I must say is one I personally love. The story opportunities that could come up with a Ganondorf redemption arc are just so good, but alas, as you know based on the countdown, I believe this theory to be false. My main takeaway as to why? This does not look like the face of redemption. I know the common counterpoint to that is that Ganondorf could be possessed, and through some cleansing of his soul, he could free himself of Demise's curse and be rehydrated as one of many fabulous fan art designs. And that would be amazing. But as I said earlier, I'm gonna play the cynic with this one, and say I don't have faith in Nintendo to pull off a storyline that interesting with this game. This is an honest-to-God recreation of how I believe the Zelda team reacted when they saw the good guy Ganon theory originate, shortly after the initial trailer. So we show them a trailer with extremely dark undertones and a freaking undead Ganondorf, and seriously, this is their first thought. Crap, that's a good idea though, why didn't we think of it? Truth number 2. The Yiga clan will have a much more significant role to play. I still remember the rush of excitement I had the first time I saw a Yiga Blade Master in Breath of the Wild's final trailer. An evil offshoot of the Sheikah that answers to Ganon. Now that's an exciting idea. However, the Yiga clan were not exactly portrayed as the dastardly threat we expected in Breath of the Wild. Don't get me wrong, I loved how the Yiga clan served as an excellent source of comic relief in Breath of the Wild, and I enjoyed that a lot. But I feel like it's about time the Yiga are set up as a more sinister group in Breath of the Wild 2. In the absence of Master Koga, I think a new character more along the lines of Girahim or Zant could be introduced. A leader that could be directly ordered by Ganondorf, or maybe, on an even more exciting note, disassociate from Ganon altogether and have the Yiga act as a third-party threat. The Zelda universe hasn't tackled the idea of multiple villains with different agendas often, but I think it could be a really interesting direction for the Yiga clan. Any way you slice it, I don't think their story is over. False number 2. The sequel is actually a prequel. Is Nintendo trying to trick us with this working title? Well, I certainly don't think so. There seems to be a great divide on this theory. Either you're extremely sure Breath of the Wild is a prequel, or you're extremely sure it's not. I happen to side on the not side of that. I talked about a bit of supposed evidence for Breath of the Wild 2 being a prequel in my video on the Return of Dungeons, but in reality, I don't think there's any evidence that can overshadow the fact that Nintendo has already told us. Plus, there's the matter of why. Why would you take us back for a story set before Breath of the Wild? Sure, the idea of exploring 100 years before Breath of the Wild sounded interesting as an idea for one of the game's DLC packs, but as of this point, and I don't know if this is just me or not, I kinda don't care about revisiting the past anymore. I feel like that ship has sailed. Zelda needs to continue pushing a new story forward, instead of relying on fixing a broken one. Truth number 3. The old Zelda timeline will be treated as legends. So this theory can be a bit confusing to explain, but anything related to the timeline usually is, so hear me out. I believe that Nintendo is for the most part trying to distance its future Zelda games from the limits of the Zelda timeline, as we saw with Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is a continuity mess for the series, as it references literally every freaking Zelda game in one respect or another. That is why I believe in the convergence timeline theory, to a degree. I imagine part of the reason Breath of the Wild deals with such a considerable time lapse between events of its game and others is because it wants to hold a position different to all of those games. Meaning I think the events of old games are fading into legend. As the title says, the legend. After all, there is a bit of truth in every legend. Now you might be asking, what does this mean for the sequel? And, better yet, what does this mean for my theory on the Twilight Connection? Well, let me just say this. The Twilight Connection might be our final central link to Hyrule's past. And what if by the end of this game, we see those last 2 links fade away, opening the world of Zelda to an entirely new future? False number 3. Ganondorf is really Demise. When I first heard this theory, I was confused. See, I almost instantly associated this corpse with Ganondorf. And I still do. I mean, seriously, what the heck, guys? How do you get Demise from this? In all seriousness, though, I can kinda see where this whole idea came from. I think the main detail people began drawing this conclusion from was the shadow we see flash on the wall during the trailer. Which, okay, that does look like a beefier, more built body, which is a characteristic of Demise more than it is Ganondorf. But have you forgotten that Ganondorf hasn't seen a new design since Twilight Princess in 2006? And the fact that his most recent redesign, even if it's non-canon, was in Hyrule Warriors, where people praised a new, long-haired and more built rendition of Ganondorf. With all the connections seen in the trailer and how easily this shadow can be disputed, I'm quite confident in my judgment on this one. Truth number 4. The underground, the sea, and the sky of Hyrule. The location of Breath of the Wild 2's teaser trailer has brought many to the assumption that underground exploration may play a key role in the sequel. And I must say, I kinda agree. We know that there must be some kind of hidden caverns underneath Hyrule's surface just by how much Sheikah technology originates from underground. I mean, heck, at this point, Hyrule probably doesn't even have much of an underground. I don't think below surface exploration will be the only new focus in Breath of the Wild 2 though, because I also believe we will see a significant focus on the sea and sky. Giving us new, uncharted island territories seems like a no-brainer inclusion in the sequel, if you ask me. Exploring Eventide Island is a common occurrence on people's lists of their favorite memories with Breath of the Wild. Sea exploration and even underwater exploration was sorely lacking in Breath of the Wild, but I have a good feeling about it returning updated in the sequel. Finally, that brings us to the sky, the final significant expansion on gameplay that might have already been teased. If we truly do see Hyrule Castle leave the ground in Breath of the Wild 2, then who's to say there won't be even more landmarks lifted? Or maybe even areas already above us waiting to be discovered? Who knows? Perhaps there's still a city in the sky. Hopefully it doesn't still have Oka, though. False number 4. Light and Dark World. Two large Zelda staples that many have theorized could make a return in Breath of the Wild 2 are time travel and the presence of a light and dark world. I've kind of already explained my reasoning on why I think time travel will be absent in the sequel, so the series can continue pushing forward and not back. But what exactly is my reasoning for shooting down the presence of a light and dark world within the game? Well, my number one argument against it is that creating the second version of Breath of the Wild's Hyrule is a lot of work. Not only does Breath of the Wild have a gigantic map, but that map is highly populated when it comes to points of interest. Pulling off two different versions of Breath of the Wild's Hyrule in the sequel while not sacrificing on each world's overall quality just seems a little unfeasible to me. Plus, with the amount of work creating the mirrored world would take, why not at that point just create new areas in the existing world instead? Truth number 5. The Triforce will have a larger role in Breath of the Wild 2. One classic Zelda element that wasn't even name-dropped in Breath of the Wild was the Triforce, which has, since the very beginning, always been at the center of Hyrule's conflicts. We see the symbol of the Triforce in Breath of the Wild, but throughout its appearances in the game, it is always referred to as Zelda's sealing power, almost as if no one truly remembers what the Triforce is. This shift in the Triforce's portrayal is something I'm pretty confident will get a lot more attention in Breath of the Wild 2, explaining the reason the physical Triforce no longer seems to exist, with the majority of its power residing in Zelda. I think this could be an interesting motive for Ganondorf in the sequel as well. Instead of only being bent on revenge, what if he also has his mindset on obtaining the princess's power of the Triforce for himself? In a time when no one else truly understands the power of the Triforce's original form anymore, no one that is, besides him. False number 5. 2020 release date. So yeah. I personally, as of this point, April 26th, 2017, do not believe we will see a release of Breath of the Wild 2 this year. The evidence? Well, there's plenty. First off is the elephant in the room, the current situation of the world. This will, and already has in some instances, have an effect on the gaming industry. And I'm sure the Zelda team will be no exception. As unfortunate as it is for this to extend the wait, games are made by people, and those people's safety and well-being should always come first. But even before the emergence of this global pandemic, I still believe Breath of the Wild 2 was never on track to hit this year. And the final nail in that coffin for me was that we have seen nothing of the game this year. And it's already the end of April. This game is an event for Nintendo, and I feel like they very likely know that by now. So to have the marketing campaign for this game be as short as 6 months, it just doesn't feel right to me. Zelda games have a long history of build up to release. Just look at Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, and Breath of the Wild. 2 years, 2 years, 3 years. I think we can more realistically expect the sequel to hit sometime in 2021. And while that is a bit of a depressing thought at first, I suggest instead of dwelling on that disappointment, we look at it this way. A 2021 release means we still have a lot to learn about this game, and a long hype cycle ahead of us, which, in many ways, at least for me, that's a huge part of the fun. Secondly, another silver lining is here. I quote the words of Shigeru Miyamoto. A delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is bad forever. And I think we all want Breath of the Wild 2 to be nothing less than an incredible game. And to ensure that it is, this wait is a small price to pay. Okay, there we go. So that was 10 theories I agree with and disagree with for Breath of the Wild 2. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe. Helps the channel grow, keeps you updated, keeps me motivated to make videos. It's pretty great. You know, the cycle, I like it. Also, if you're feeling extra daring today, you can follow me on Twitter with the link in the description below for updates and stuff. Thank you guys for watching. Stay safe. I will see you soon. I am tired. Bye-bye.